During the summer of last year, I started my film photography journey, and my journey started with one simple little camera, and that is the Kodak Ektar H35. This was a birthday present. It is just a simple point and shoot half frame camera. This little camera has made me so happy for the past half year. I've had a lot of people ask how I've been liking it, so I wanted to share some of my thoughts and opinions from an absolute beginner in terms of film photography. One thing that I really love about this camera is how lightweight it is. When you hold it, it feels like a toy, and I think that's where a lot of skepticism comes from for this camera. It weighs absolutely nothing, but I love that because I can throw it in my purse. I have taken this on so many weekend trips and just to parties, and I'm someone who carries a lot of stuff in her purse. My parents make fun of me. They call it my grandma bag because I just have so much stuff in there. I usually have snacks and peppermints and everything. So this being so lightweight really helps with that. It also lets me carry more than one camera in there. Despite it being so lightweight, I have had no issues with that impacting the functionality of the camera. It's been very easy to use. For me, film has been very intimidating, especially the loading process, but I've had no issues with loading this camera. It's been very forgiving in that, especially because it is half frame. There have been some times where I maybe don't wind it all the way, and so my frames aren't perfectly aligned. Another feature that I really like about this camera is the flash option, which I have used a few times, and I have had no problems with the flash not going off. Or I've heard that some people, they have a hard time turning the flash off, like they'll want to use it for one frame and then turn it off and it'll still go off. I haven't experienced that problem with my camera. I like the look of the flash. It kind of reminds me of the old disposable cameras that I would use as a kid. So it kind of has that look to it. It is a simple, just point and shoot. I'm not expecting it to be super artistic in terms of flash like I would get from my speed lights that I use for my digital photography. But for the sake of like candids and stuff like that, I really enjoy the look of it. But that's pretty much the features of the camera. Another question that I have received a lot about this camera is if 72 frames is too many frames. When I first loaded this camera with my first roll of film, I had planned to do a photo session, and going from digital to film, I fully anticipated using all 72 frames, but because I was really focusing on using the mindset of only taking one photo and then moving on, in the hour that we had our session, I maybe took 30 photos, so I had half of the roll left. And for that roll of film, it wasn't a problem. It was actually really nice because I was able to bring my camera to a maternity session that I did, and I was able to take just a few bonus photos, which I really love. And being able to have those in pairing with the digital photos are just very special and were just very fun bonus photos to give to that family. I was able to do a lot of experimentation and seeing how the camera and my film, which is Fuji 200 that I loaded in there, worked in different lighting conditions. I took it on a little day walk around a downtown and went inside like a dimly lit antique store and took some photos in there. And one of them is a bit underexposed, but I still really like the look of it. There's just something very moody and striking about it. So getting to play around with that was really nice, especially for my first roll, and it kind of lowered the pressure of experimenting with it. The roll that I currently have loaded, I have been shooting since, I want to say October. It's been a long time, and the reason for that is because this roll I have been wanting to take candids on anytime that I have a family function or I go to a party or I'm out with friends. I wanted to take fun photos on that. And so it's typically just been 3 or 5 photos here or there. And when you have 72 frames to get through. That takes a long time, but I am just about finished with that roll. I think I maybe have 2 more frames to finish, and then I can go send that to be developed. So in terms of that, it's maybe a little too much, but I also love how cost effective that's been for me, especially for candids. I don't really need a full 35mm frame for something like that. I feel like my half frame fulfills that enough for me. But that pretty much sums up all of my thoughts on this camera. Again, it's just a very simple, lightweight, point and shoot, half frame camera. I don't expect much from the little guy, but he does what he needs to do, and I love him for that. As an absolute beginner, this being my first step into photography has been the best way for me. So if you're looking for a really simple camera, if you're just getting into film, or if you just want something that's easy to take on trips and is, affordable, very affordable price point, and also you don't want the worry of, oh, if it gets absolutely wrecked on the trip, it's not the biggest of deals, then I highly recommend this camera for that. But that pretty much sums up all of my thoughts for this camera. I don't do gear reviews very often, if at all. That's just not my cup of tea. It's not my expertise, but I had received a few questions and I thought it would just be nice to put it all in one video. I hope that you enjoyed this simple kind of sit down video, but if you would like to see more, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, all the good jazz. I hope you have a super lovely day, and I will see you next time. Bye.